Welcome to Muddled Minds. Today I'll be talking about reality as a whole and individually, and what makes something real and how that affects us in our daily lives. So let's get into it. I read some excerpts from Karl Jasper, who was a German Swiss psychiatrist slash philosopher that lived from 1883 to 1969. There are some excerpts from his book that was called Philosophy of Existence. Essentially, that book had three parts to it, one on being, one on truth, and one on reality. And the stuff I read was just more on the reality part of that. And essentially, he kind of it went into a lot of detail. Not going to go into any of that detail right now, but there was one thing that I just want to point this video towards when he talked about absolute reality. Reality as a whole, how all of our realities are interconnected into basically a web in which we all have individual realities that make up all the reality as a whole. Reality is the state of things as they actually exist, rather than as they may appear or might be imagined. In a wider definition, reality includes everything that is and has been, whether or not it is observable or comprehensible. A still broader definition includes everything that has existed, exists, and will exist. That's one thing right there. Will exist. So with that, everything in reality should be real, right? I mean, that's what you would think, because isn't that kind of reality includes everything that is real? It's kind of part of the definition, because everything that's real is stuff that exists. And, they're not really imagined. They're physically there, and we can interact with them. So off of that, it's like, well, how do we really determine if something's real? And essentially, from every way that we've ever done is we have to use our senses. So we have to use physical capabilities to determine if something is physically there or not. We use our sight, we have eyes, we can see shit. We have ears, we hear, and we have feeling. We can touch. We can physically touch things and we feel them. So we use these three senses. Of course, there's more things that we use, but them three primary senses are what we use to actually determine, if something's actually real or not. So take this table, this desk that's sitting in front of me right now. It is physically there. I can see it, my eyes, I can touch it, I can feel it with my fingertips, and I can hear it when you actually make a noise, and when you touch it or bang on it. So essentially, it exists in the reality as I know it. This reality that surrounds me in this room. So it's part of the reality as a whole, just as it's part of my reality. But if I close my eyes and I can't see it, I had earplugs or maybe I was even deaf, I couldn't hear any noises, and I couldn't feel it because maybe I was too far back and away from it. Does it really exist? Is it really there? Because I have no way to prove that it exists or not. Because I can't touch it, I can't hear it, I can't see it, can't use any other senses. So it's hard to really define if something exists or not, or if it's really there without using our senses. So essentially, does anything exist? Or is it all just part of the reality that we subconsciously create around us that fills the void, that allows us to live our daily lives in a way that we think that we have purpose, we're moving around, and everything that we see, touch, hear, interact with is physically there because it interacts back with us when we interact with it. So we have feelings, we know when stuff is really there or not, compared to when stuff's like actually in your mind, in your head, you're imagining shit, like your dreams. Sometimes you have dreams and you're like, that shit seemed way too real. But then you're like, well, obviously I'm awake now and this is my reality. I can feel shit more and I'm more aware of my surroundings. But subconsciously, who's to say the dream wasn't just as real as the reality around you, because you're just at a different level of consciousness in your sleep state? Maybe we're all just asleep in a giant system of, like, I don't want to go all Matrixy or anything, but supercomputer. That would be pretty messed up. So how do we determine if all of our surroundings are real or not? I mean, it's definitely not no way to do it without using our senses. And not just that, is my reality the same as your reality? Because consciously, we feel that everyone is experiencing the same stuff in the world in our daily lives as we interact with everything, other people in the world. They experience the same things, the same situations and stuff. They should experience the same feelings. They should understand what's going on. But a lot of people don't. They see things in their own view, not only just because the physical things that are happening around them are potentially different. It's just, obviously they see things differently. It's not because they see things differently because they were raised different or their mind's set a little bit different, but maybe the things are actually happening just slightly differently around them because the way they interpret the world around them is slightly different than the way you interpret the world around yourself. Which means that, the reality that you hold is not necessarily the reality that they have and they understand beyond this reality that we actually truly know to be true. So to have an absolute reality that's actually true beyond the reality that we see to be real, it's really hard to understand that we actually have no idea what reality really is beyond what we think it is. So it's hard to actually say, hey, this is real, this isn't real, without actually using a simple method of actually saying, hey, I'm using my senses versus there's a way beyond the physical reality to determine if something is real or not. And that's just kind of how we make our reality. We make it how we wanted to see it, and we could potentially just subconsciously creating the reality that's around us without really even knowing it. And that's why everything works. And since obviously as humans we try to, we make our lives live in hell sometimes. So essentially nothing ever is perfect. So what is real? Are you actually even watching this right now? Or am I just a figment of your imagination and you just realized that you have no idea what the hell is going on?